Nepalese capital, Kathmandu. The plane was operated by Sita Airlines and had 19 people on board.
You're seeing there the wreckage pictures that we're getting this morning. Let's speak to our India correspondent, Sanjoy Majumdar, who's following the story from Delhi for us this morning. Sanjoy, what can you tell us?
Well, as you can see there, a very, very badly damaged aircraft. It was operated by Sita Air, a private airline, a small aircraft, a twin-engine turboprop Dhoni aircraft. And we understand that shortly after takeoff, the pilot indicated that there was something wrong. Now, preliminary reports from the ground, from authorities there, suggest that it may have actually hit a bird on takeoff. The pilot attempted to land the aircraft, first actually trying to get back to the airport and then trying to bring it down on the ground, but he failed to do so. The plane came down on the banks of a river just outside the airport and immediately burst into flames. Firefighters, police and soldiers from the Nepalese army were there fairly quickly, but were unable to prevent the very extensive damage, and all 19 passengers, 19 people on board are said to have died in the crash.
Yes, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office confirming this morning there were British fatalities, urgently seeking now to confirm the number and their identities, reports suggesting there were 7 Britons on board.
Yes, that's right. We heard first from local police at the site who said that there were 7 British nationals and 5 Chinese on board, as well as 7 people from Nepal, including 3 crew members. But the British Embassy, who we've been in touch with, have basically not given us an official number just as yet. They're trying to determine an exact number before they come out with that information. But we do understand that the British ambassador there has been to the hospital where the bodies of the victims have been brought in before they actually come out with an official statement.
And Samjo, what do we know about the flight itself? It was headed towards Everest, so would it be safe to assume that these were climbers who were headed on a trip to Everest itself?
Almost certainly. This is the beginning of the start of the main trekking season in Nepal. So people from around the world, but mostly from Europe, head out to Nepal at this point, and then eventually to one of those base camps at the base of many of those peaks that they want to climb. This aircraft, as you pointed out, heading to a place called Lukla, which is the main hub for climbers who attempt to scale Mount Everest. So it's safe to assume that that's where these people were headed, no doubt to acclimatize, undergo their preliminary training before beginning that very long climb up to the top.
Sanjoy, thank you very much for your time this morning. We will keep in touch with you about the very latest developments. Thank you.
We're going to stay with that for the next couple of minutes or so, though. We're going to speak to Alan Hinks. He's a climber who's been visiting Nepal since 1987. And actually, Alan, I understand that you've taken this particular journey as well. What can you tell us about the journey?
Yes, I've been on this flight, even with this airline, many times, from Kathmandu to Lukla. It's ironic that it's crashed in Kathmandu. I mean, you're usually worried about it landing at the other end in Lukla, because Lukla is a bit like, the airstrip there is a bit like an aircraft carrier with a mountain face at the end of it. And so when you come into land, you have to stop before you hit the mountain face. When you take off, and there's a 1,000-foot drop at the end of the runway. And obviously you're in the mountains at 3,500 metres, landing at high altitude in thin air, so normally crashes happen at the other end.
OK, and the people who are on this flight normally are what, climbers hoping to go and climb Everest, are they?
I don't think it'd be climbers who are climbing Everest. There's not many people climb Everest now in the post-monsoon season, but it is the big trekking season. There will be trekkers for sure, or they could be climbers going to some of the smaller mountains there. It's the end of September, and there's quite good weather normally in October and early November for climbing the smaller mountains around Everest. But generally, there's lots of trekkers going out this time of year, so I would. It is a bit worrying and upsetting. You know, there's a lot of people I know go out at this time of year, leading treks and friends and what have you.
Yes, and we know the Foreign Office confirming that there are Britons amongst the dead, and presumably. For anybody in the climbing, trekking community, waking up hearing that news is going to be pretty alarming for them, isn't it?
It is, for sure, yeah. I've already spoken to another friend, and, it is quite alarming and what have you. I do remember I've lost a few friends in plane crashes, in fact, in Nepal over the years, over 20 years or so. It's not probably the safest place to fly, I must admit, but it's what you have to do if you want to get into the mountains, I guess.
OK, Alan, thanks very much, and we may speak to you again later, but Alan Hinks joining us there, who's been visiting Nepal since 1987. Thank you.